10 seconds, mics are on, don't say a word.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Recovery Talk, a show that tries to bring hope and help for the hurting. My name is Jim Quigley. I'm the weekly host. Whose phone is that? Sorry about that. We got a little technical difficulty. Actually, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, which if you're listening to the show right now and you ever come in the middle and you want to come and catch up on it, you can actually go to the Facebook page. There's a designated page for Recovery Talk. And you can see that I've shrunk. We have two guests today in the studio with us, and I had to give up the seats. So I'm feeling a little weird. Anyway, we want to start off the show by giving a shout out to the official sponsor of the show, which is Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is local mechanic shop here in town, ready to give you professional service for your vehicle. While at the same time you as a customer can know that you're going also, the profits from the shop are going to support a good cause, which is Freedom Farm Ministries, a 1-year recovery program here in the High Country for Men. So yeah, if you got a car, which, and if you have a car, you know about car problems, you can go and get your car fixed up, professionally. If you buy a part from Freedom Auto Tech, most parts come with a 2-year, 24,000 mile nationwide warranty, meaning parts and labor. If you got the part here, you break down in Arizona, you get the part fixed and the labor paid for in Arizona. So
now, Jim, I've got to come into this. Mr. Jim gave us a wonderful car. My niece lives in Hickory, and she goes to Lenore Ryan College, and I bought a car from Jim. The guys fixed it up, and she just loves this car. So thank you, Jim, and thank you for your auto mechanic program.
So there's one of my guests, Addie Bobbitt, who, if you've been been listening to the show, I've been giving out her cell phone number over the airwaves. And we also have with us Miss Margaret Hester.
Hello.
Like saying Margaret Hester because she's been married since the last time you were in here.
I know.
So congratulations with that. But my guests this morning are here to talk about a few things. One being a program here in the High Country called Carries Home for Women, and then this exciting addiction awareness walk that's going on. It's actually been totally put on, really headed up by our guest Addie Bob this morning. But I've got sidetracked. What do you know? Addie got me sidetracked. But
me, Jim? Got you sidetracked?
But before we get into the show, here's the number for Freedom Auto Tech. It's 828-355-4434. 828-355-4434. Give them a call if you want to get on the schedule. They're ready to give you great service for your auto needs. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
So, April 13th, we've got an exciting thing happening up here in the High Country. And I know you definitely want to tell us about it. Actually, it's interesting. I serve on the board of Carries Home as, they called it ex officio, which means I'm a non-voting member because I'm employed by Carries Home also. But anyway, I get to go to all the board meetings. Exciting life I live. But anyway, Addie was. I've heard the story on how she got this idea for this recovery awareness walk. So maybe why don't we start by talking about that?
That's a great idea. And I'm so glad to be here with my wonderful friend, Margaret and Jim. Jim has to put up with me. Oh, my gosh. Poor man. We went to Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, 2018, and we were involved with a heroin addiction awareness walk. And I renamed mine, naturally, the Addiction Awareness Walk for the fact that, addictions can be anything and everything. All types of drugs, alcohol, food, whatever you want to call it. But we went because of two young ladies that have recovered from addiction, or are recovering, I should say, from addiction. And they are thriving now in Birmingham, Alabama. And one of these young ladies texted me and said, would you like to come and be a part of this walk? So 6 hours later, we were in Birmingham, Alabama, and they were expecting about 300 people for this walk, and there were over 1,000 people for the walk in 2018. This February, unfortunately, I was involved with something, I don't know, I'm involved in too many things sometimes, but all worthwhile, all worthwhile. The walk we could not go to this year, 2019 in February, they had over 3,000 people to walk for the heroin awareness addiction. And so I said, we can do something like this in Watauga County. And I told the gentleman, Mike, this morning that I've tried to contact 5 different counties now, surrounding counties. I've tried to put it on several radio stations. I have been in 3 different newspapers now. I am going to be in the Watauga Democrat this Sunday. So please, if you do get the Watauga Democrat, read on that. Margaret was interviewed, and myself. And so the reason for the walk, as Jim asked me earlier, is to make people aware that there is definitely a problem, which we all know, but to give them help, hope, and love, and make them aware that people can be helped. So that is why we are doing this walk in Boone.
It's funny you said something. It's like, people are aware, but I guess you could say could push back on that a little bit. CNN, I don't know, I get all kinds of different news on social media. We've cut the cord at the Quigley household a couple of years ago, so we don't have typical cable television. So I'm always getting. But anyway, it actually an article was sent to me. It was a CNN article by a coworker here at Freedom Farm, my brother Steve, who one day we'll have on the show. I don't know if you've ever gone to the Freedom Farm thrift store. You've met Steve. But anyway, he sent me this article last week, I believe. And it was talking about the fentanyl crisis, opioid crisis, and whatnot. And because of some research I had previously done about overdose deaths, let me ask you guys something. How many people do you think in 1999 died from overdoses?
I don't know 1999, but I know 2018. Margaret, do you?
100,000?
No.
I don't know.
So in 2017, I probably should have started. 2017, 72,000 people died totally of overdose. In 1999, that number was like 16,000 people. So the CNN report, interestingly enough, the amount of people killed by fentanyl alone in 2016 was 18,000 people. Was more than the total overdose deaths in 1999 by one drug in 2016.
Jim, why don't you tell our viewers what fentanyl is? They know sort of what cocaine is, and they sort of know what meth is, and they sort of know what heroin is. So go for it, master plan.
Okay, but let me finish that point real fast, though. But I will do that because I also have something else to talk about. But when it came to finding out that information, I actually sent that article out to the Freedom Farm board. And the response that I got from the members of our Freedom Farm, people that are actively involved in supporting a recovery program, they were shocked. They were just absolutely shocked. And that has been my typical response from a lot of people when I start sharing just raw numbers with them. People know addiction exists, we all have grown up with people that have been addicts, but I don't know if people actually are aware of how bad it's become. Because, the number was moved this year. Last year they were saying they were saying that the leading cause of death for people 50 and under is overdose. Well, they've had to move that number now. It's now 55 and under. People 55 and under, the number one cause of death is overdose. Accidental death. So, and then you're not even factoring in the amount of suicides that are because of substance abuse. You know how many suicides happened the last time they were counting the numbers? We're always like a year behind. 44,000 suicides. Okay? So all these numbers are skyrocketing right now. And substance abuse is definitely driving this stuff. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, Todd has posted that article from CNN. Interesting article. So, you asked me if I could tell people, I'm not a doctor. I guess I'm a street doctor. I think Margaret probably shares a little bit of that insight with me. Margaret and I are both what you would consider success stories from addiction. But I actually was invited last Friday to a 3-hour lecture over at the hospital. The hospital invited a gentleman over there. I'd have to get his name. I'll probably get that during our next commercial break, which is coming right up. But he and his wife served as almost a dual practice. He was a doctor and started helping people out in the medical side with addiction. His wife was a substance abuse counselor in a county that's between here and Asheville. And they worked there for years. They've recently moved to Colorado. But he has this whole discussion, 3-hour discussion, about medical uses for opiates, treating acute pain, chronic pain, and then in the addiction side. And it was just probably one of the most interesting things I've been a part of in a real long time. The education I got from that in a small room, it was interesting. There was very few people in there, but
well, why didn't you ask me to come?
Well, I didn't really know what I was getting into until I got there. But look, we're coming up on a break. I don't want to get into the details and probably until after this commercial break. So stick with us. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you what I know. So we'll be right back.
You know me, I gotta make this funny, Jim.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I plugged your auto place.
You did?
I just did on
See,
the
that's
air.
what I'm saying. I mean, a lot of people just don't really want to deal with it, and they want to look the other way. And it's kind of like I told Addie, when you look at the reason narcotics became what they are, you have to understand Prohibition created organized crime. Mm-hmm. Okay, once Prohibition ended, the mafia, which made a ton of money off this stuff, had to find an alternative. So what do? You go to drugs. Who do you push it on? What they considered the inferiority of society, the minorities. Because in that era, think about the mindset. If you were a different person of color, you were worthless. You were nothing. That's the way they were looked at. So here, let's push it on these people. They can kill themselves off. Well, at the same time, you allow these people to push it for you. So you give them a small cut, you take the big cut. So you keep these guys in business. Anybody screws with them, you step in, you provide the muscle. And that's how narcotics began to grow. And it's still mafia controlled. If you don't think so, you're an idiot. Because what do you think they make their money?
Oh, yeah.
Why do you think they won't legalize prostitution in this country? It's mafia controlled. Take it out of their hands, where's their profit? See what I'm saying? And you prevent girls from going on the street and getting the trouble to have to depend on Carrie's homes. It's all a game. And you got to be able to know how to play it.
Follow the money.
Exactly. Well, Jimmy, you were involved in a lot of that stuff. I'm sure you met more than your share of shady characters.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'm sure there were some bazookas out there that you were like, who the heck are these guys?
My 3 years in Costa Rica that I spent, it's pretty sad, but
I cannot believe the way this guy lived. I just can't believe it.
But I mean,
you look at him now, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
There's great surfing there. There's great fishing there. It's in the Pacific side of Costa Rica.
Are they an hour ahead of us, Jimmy? Are they on Atlantic time? I mean, it would be what, like 10 to 12 there?
They don't recognize daylight savings, so that it changes. They're usually either on time with us or they're an hour different. But one of the main things there's ecotourism there. There's surfing. There's fishing, and then there's sex tourism. And it's just one of the big four. And it's just...
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's depressing. It's super depressing because there's whole businesses that just totally exist for sex tourism. And it's just everywhere. It's blatantly in front of you everywhere you go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like Jamaica when you get off the plane. They got pot. You want to get... it's like my buddy, he and his sister went to Jamaica. They got in the cab, and the driver goes, "You guys want to get high? Here, man." And he gave him a big fat joint. You gotta be kidding me. He goes, "No, it's not against the law. Here, have it. Enjoy it. Welcome to the world, baby." Money talks. If you got it. 10 seconds, guys. Mics are going hot.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk, show that tries to bring hope and help for hurting people. You know, if you are struggling with substance abuse, or you know somebody that is, and you want to talk about it, you know, I'm easily contacted through social media, or you could even call the radio station here, or reach out through the Facebook pages or whatever. And so are these ladies, I know, always ready to help people out that need help. But before we get back into the story, we want to shout out to Freedom Auto Tech, which is the sponsor of the show. The show happens because of Freedom Auto Tech. And Freedom Auto Tech is a local professional mechanic shop here, ready to give you service for all your auto needs. And you can know as a customer that all the profits that the shop makes, it goes to support men in recovery through Freedom Farm Ministries. Freedom Farm Ministries is a one-year men's recovery program here in High Country, and is in constantly need of financial help. And this is just one way that you as a person can kind of kill two birds with one stone, get your car fixed, and know that you're helping out a good cause both at the same time. So if you or you got a friend that has a car problem, tell them to give Freedom Auto Tech a call, 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. They're currently running some specials, so give them a call. I think brake specials, oil change specials. I think Margaret just got a van mirror fixed from there, and I think you were happily satisfied with the work done there, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So she has to say that, folks, because, yeah, I'm just kidding. She doesn't.
No, they did good work, and I'm very grateful, and they were very quick about it, and so I appreciate them.
So back to this lecture, and I was basically wanted to just tell you what I learned about fentanyl. So fentanyl is a drug. Actually, I'm friends with a retired anesthesiologist. Fentanyl is used widely here in America, you know, as anesthesia, basically. Mm-hmm. So if you've ever been put under anesthesia, you've probably been given fentanyl. Okay, so fentanyl started to be mass produced in China, okay, and is being basically sent here through basically, you know, black market type thing. You hear about seizures on our border all the time of all this kind of fentanyl coming, and there's been recently a change where fentanyl in China has been criminalized. So now we're hoping that's going to cut down some of that. But fentanyl, whereas like if you were to, I've seen a thing where basically if you have like, you can't see me on the radio, but basically
we can't see at all. You're too short anymore.
That's right. Probably if you were to take a bag of heroin, what it would take someone to overdose on heroin, it takes about a 1/16 of that, of fentanyl, to kill somebody. And right now, fentanyl is being mixed into all kinds of things. Right now, I read a report recently about some pressed Xanax that was going around in Raleigh area of North Carolina. I actually am working with a guy right now that was caught up in this, but what I mean by press is people get this powder and they have a press and they're making their own black market pills that look like a pharmaceutical. Xanax, 2 milligram Xanax. One of the street names for it is bars. But anyway, they're mixing fentanyl to create more of a punch, and it's being mixed in those things, in heroin and all kinds of stuff to make it stronger, more potent, and people are dying all the time. We actually had a friend 2 weekends ago that passed away over in the Outer Banks, and he was only 33 years old. And, you know, this is happening all the time. So there's that fentanyl, and then there's a thing called carfentanil. Carfentanil now is what they give to elephants. It's not used for humans. It's used to knock down like an elephant. And you ever heard of elephant tranquilizer? That's carfentanil. and that is now hitting our streets.
Angel
and
dust?
No, one grain, like a sand grain, will kill a human being. So that's all it takes. And this is a thing called carfentanil. Now, carfentanil is now showing up all over the place too. So very dangerous. This is what fentanyl is. It's carfentanil is not even made for humans. The reason why it's not made for humans is they have never been able to metabolize it to a dose that would be good for humans because it's just so erratic. But it's now showing up on the streets. That's why you've heard these reports of people like just touching or something being put in the air.
Right.
Okay, these are like EMS workers. A lot of that's just regular fentanyl, just the dust, breathing in the dust in the air. They're overdosing. But this carfentanil stuff, one little piece, and people are keeling over. So,
Oh my God.
anyway, awareness walk, the need for awareness walk. You know what was interesting about the one you told me about in Alabama is that what was it that their goal was for in Alabama when it came to getting people out to this thing? Do you?
Yeah, you know what, Jim? They wanted to make people, like we're doing with this walk in Boone, that there is, we all know, I shouldn't say this, because some people do know there's a drug problem, serious drug problem, but they won't, they just put blinders on. And they go, well, it's not happening in my life, so let's don't even worry about it. And we're making people, like in Alabama, aware that there is a problem. We're bringing in speakers. One young lady is from Hickory, North Carolina, our main speaker. She lost her daughter at the age of 17, her only daughter, at the age of 17 to an overdose. And then we have 2 other speakers coming. But we want to help parents and grandparents, just like the walk in Alabama. We're giving out all types of very pertinent information for any age child. If you've got a grandchild or if you've got a child that's in kindergarten through 12, we're going to be handing out all types of literature pertaining to drug abuse and how do I tell if a child of mine or even a friend of a child of mine is using any type of drug, and what do I do if they are using that drug? So the awareness thing is what we're trying to stress. And the second thing is we're bringing in 9 different recovery houses, literature from 9 different ones from 6 different states. And they're all faith-based. The majority of them are actually free. Some are not free. But they are very, very productive, and they've helped quite a few young men and women. So the awareness thing is to let people know there is a problem and what we can do to help this problem.
Didn't you say in Alabama they were hoping for
300
people to show up, and what ended up happening?
What happened was they advertised so well, and I hope that we are doing the same thing with Carrie's Addiction Awareness Walk, but they advertised so well that instead of 300 coming, they had 1,000 come in 2018, and in 2019 they had over, this past February, like I said, they had over 3,000 that came.
So this would be a dream for us if we could get the word out there. That's what my guests are here on the show today. It doesn't have to be you're wanting to support one of these individual programs. You're just wanting to get out there and support recovery awareness and come and share your story. Come and be a part of people trying to combat this scourge on our society, which is the need for people to be aware and the need for places for people to get help. If you're watching on Facebook or if you're listening now and you're going to go back and watch later, we have Margaret, who I'm going to bring into the conversation here. We might have to wait till after the break, because we only got 1 minute. But she's showing the brochure right now, which is April 13th, and you're going to be able to register at 12:30, and then the official walk starts at 1. But during that half an hour, if you come at 12:30, there's tons of booths, tons of people, tons of literature. There's even going to be a painter's blanket where people are going to be encouraged to, if you have someone that you know or lost or is struggling currently right now, you can write their name And we're hoping to fill this painter's tarp up with people that we can be lifting up in prayer and in our thoughts. And you know what? Who knows what's going to happen? How things are going to get turned around. Attention needs to be made. There's going to be people there to talk to people who have lost loved ones. Addie herself lost her daughter a few years ago to this problem, and there's going to be a lot of conversation there. We're coming up on break. I got to go, but we'll be right back. Just stick with us.
Great show, guys. I'm telling you, it's good information. And it's like I said, people just...
I'm going to move
Margaret,
this.
you're gonna
So
talk
if you
next.
show
I'm
this
gonna
again,
loop you in. I'm not going to tell you what. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Margaret,
Well,
I'll put yours right here.
It's just like I said, it's great that you guys care. And
Margaret,
that you
can
guys
you
are
do
out there
this?
and that you're doing this because...
Will it be seen?
I mean, think about it, Jimmy.
It's being seen
Who
right
is
now.
This, Jim?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
And I mean this. Who reached out to you, and when did it finally sink into your head that, you know what, this guy or this gal is telling me the truth. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Because that's where you have, I don't have a problem. Don't bother me. Leave me alone.
Right.
It's not your issue. Well, it is, because if you're involved with the individual in any way, yeah, it affects everybody else around the individual, but we finally cracked your nut.
Actually,
For real.
Yeah, I mean, so all of my experiences in trying to get sober, I mean, I don't know if you know this part about me, but I had struggled with drugs and alcohol from like early teens, preteen even, till I was 24. Yeah, 12 years old when I first started messing around. But then I got sober when I was 24, and I stayed sober for 6 years. And that's when I went to college to be a pastor. And then I relapsed after graduating college for 5 years, and that's where Costa Rica comes in. But it wasn't until people finally said, look, you know what you need to do, you need to go do it, but I'm not helping you no more. It was until people gave me all the support for me to get help, but they weren't going to they weren't going to help me live my life anymore the way. They weren't going to pay my cell phone. They weren't going to give me $20 to put gas in my car.
Right.
They weren't going to help me out with rent. They said, look, you need to go get help. You know where it is. Go. It wasn't until that happened. My mom, who's watching right now, there's a longer story about that, but
God bless her.
probably one of the hardest things she had to do was tell me that she
no
wasn't going to
kidding.
help me anymore.
Well,
my
I mean,
experience
and you
exactly.
hate to do that, but you know what? I could see where she's coming from because you're her flesh and blood. She brought you into the world, and now she's watching you
Kill yourself.
deteriorate away.
Yeah.
And the shame of it all is it's a slow death because you're blind to it. You're doing it, and Jim, you can vouch for this. You were there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem. I don't need your help. Am I right or wrong here?
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like what Lawrence Taylor said in his autobiography. He said, I look back at my life. Here I am, a future Hall of Fame linebacker, and here I am going into a neighborhood in the middle of the night to get coke. And he nearly, and thank God he was a big, strong man, he nearly got overpowered by 3 teenagers. He literally had to fight them off, nearly killed one of them with a punch. And he said, I think back at this now, and I'm like, what the heck was I doing?
Mm-hmm.
And it finally sunk in on him, kind of like what happened with Jimmy. Because he kept going to this rehab center, and finally there was an old man there that would check everybody in, and he goes, what are you doing back here? He goes, well, I'm trying to get cleaned up. He goes, man, he said, you're lying to yourself. He said, just go out the door. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're going to die anyway. You don't give a darn. And, you know, he basically told him, he said, you're wasting your time. He goes, I am not. He goes, yeah, you are. He goes, answer me this. When you've been here in the past, what have you gotten involved in? What have you gotten involved in that's helped others and helped yourself? Show me what participations you've made.
That's a good one.
Because he kept a good log of everybody. And it was a blank look. He goes, that's what I'm saying. He said, man, I don't even want you being here. Get out. Lawrence had to beg the guy to let him in. And finally, it sunk in. You know what? I need to stop this. This is what my ex-wife was trying to tell me. And when he forwarded the book, the first synopsis of the book, Lawrence Taylor, was about how he had put his wife through the grinder, how sorry he was that he destroyed her life.
Is that a football player?
He brought her nothing but sorrow and unhappiness. And he goes, I'm embarrassed to even say this. And he apologized to his children. Like he said, I was Lawrence Taylor. I was LT. I had all this money. There were no limitations. I could just go out and do what the heck I wanted. It didn't matter. I was me. I was what I wanted to do. And nobody was going to tell me what to do and how to live my life. And he goes, it took that old man to be a standoff jerk to open up my eyes, he said, or I'd have been dead. I mean, it was so bad. He had 2 Rottweilers. They were cramping, pissing all over the house. No food. Living, I mean, in a beautiful home, $1 million home. Living like a shack. Jimmy, here we go. The mics are hot.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk. Hope and help for the hurting. That's what this show is all about. Trying to bring a little bit of that to all our listeners and watchers every Thursday here between 10:30 and 11:30. We want to quickly get back into the story, but before we do, we need to mention our show sponsor, Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is a local professional mechanic shop here in town, ready to service all of your auto needs. They're running lots of specials right now. There's even warranted parts there. I'll let them tell you all about it. But you can know as a customer that Freedom Auto Tech exists to be a revenue stream for men in recovery through Freedom Farm Ministries. Freedom Farm Ministries is a 1-year recovery program for men, and they constantly are in need of all kinds of things. So you can go and know you're getting a good job done, having your car fixed, and all the profits are going to support men in recovery. Before we get back in, I told Margaret that I'm going to get her in here because don't let her what might seem like shy demeanor on the show, her being quiet, fool you. Margaret's got a lot to say. You gotta kind of get her going. But anyway. Back on the fentanyl thing, my sister has piped in on Facebook, and she said that she's hearing stories about. She lives in South Florida, which is like the recovery capital of the world, but it's also the relapse capital of the world. So she hears stories that in public restrooms, you're having to make sure that baby changing stations are clean because people are putting their children on them, and there's fentanyl residue, and the baby is absorbing through their skin, and it's killing. And my mom is you want to date? Here you are dating me. My mom's remembering when she first started to become aware of me messing around with drugs, and she said, "I remember finding pot underneath your waterbed mattress." Waterbed mattress. That's what ages me. So
those were the good old days.
Those were good. You know what I heard actually on a side note that the waterbed's coming back out. They're like revamping it and all kinds of stuff.
They don't make you seasick anymore?
I don't know. Anyway, Margaret, I think that it's important because this recovery awareness walk, the proceeds from it are going to support a women's program here in High Country. And, I think it's really important, especially to understand from a woman that has been to women's programs, to understand how necessary this is to have women's programs, because they far are outshadowed by men's programs. There's tons of those comparative to women's programs. True. So, Margaret, when it came to you trying to find help, how hard was it really to find good women's help out there, specific, like inpatient? Or do you want to tell us about your journey with all of that?
Well, specifically with finding good inpatient, I have been to 15 different programs, women's programs, over the course of 15 years. And it was, it was really difficult because a lot of them were secular, and so they pushed AA and NA, and okay, that's fine, but it didn't fill the void that I had within myself. And so then I started looking for a Christian-based program, And ultimately, I ended up with the Dove's Nest in Charlotte. And but in order to get there, their waiting list was so long. I ended up going to detox, relapsing, going to detox, relapsing. I did that 4 times before I actually got in. And so it's really important to have women's recovery, Christian-based recovery, available to women, because there are so many women that want it, that recognize the need and the lack of Jesus in their life, and so they need that. And so to have, because I mean, our program at Carrie's Home is full right now, and all praise be to God. But, you know, there's so many women that call me every day, every week, that are trying to get help. And, you know, there's nothing that I can do for them at this point. And so if we had other recovery available, I mean, that would be amazing. But like you said, Jim, the guys programs are everywhere. But then we're the only women's program in the high country. And, you know, the closest one Christian base is in Charlotte. And so, I mean, it's just really, it's sad. And so this walk is just going to be amazing, because we're going to get the awareness out there. We're going to, you know, educate people. We're going to let you know, signs to look for and what to do if it is happening, because everybody is either directly or indirectly affected by addiction. I don't care who you are, what your status is. Everybody is affected in some way.
Yeah. So, this is the point I was wanting you to make. So, when I have a guy and Freedom Farm is not going to work out for them, there are at least 6 places within 45 minutes, 45 minutes of here that I can give people numbers for, right? But like you just said, if you don't have room, which you don't right now at Carrie's Home, the closest place that you know is in Charlotte. Well, actually, I think the closest place would be Winston.
Well, there's one in Hickory also. It's called Safe Harbor, and it's for women, and it is faith-based.
Okay.
Yes, in Hickory, North Carolina. They're going to be represented as one of the 9 recovery groups at our walk. And I'm not trying to interrupt either one of you, but Margaret so nicely said, if we get, for our walk, this is what we're doing it for, we want to refurbish the 3rd mobile home. And if we do that, then we're going to have a home for recovery and a home for transition. So the walk is very important for this.
There's a place, what I was mentioning, Solus Christus, which is about an hour and a half away from here.
So an hour and a half, 2 hours away from here.
But I mean, they're few and far between comparative to men's programs. Now, there's a whole other discussion about even, good men's programs and things like that, because there's places I won't give the number out because I just have not, have not heard very good things about, and I'm not trying to be a judge or anything like that, but I mean, I'm sure that they exist and they've helped some people. It just, if I can't get behind them, I'm not going to be able to encourage somebody else to go there. Maybe I'll just tell them it exists and say, it's up to you. But anyway, so, I mean, my heart really does go out to the women. When I got involved with being a part of Carrie's Home, I always tell myself, it's like, you know what? I want to be a part of recovery. I want to be a part of recovery for everybody. And man, there really just isn't a lot in my experience. I get all the time calls, where can I send? And there's like just a couple numbers I can give out. I mean, it's very few comparative. I mean, I know men's places across the country. I mean, all over the place. And I'm sure, in my world, I mean, it's just stuff I just don't know. But I mean, you being a woman that's been through it, I mean, even though you've been to like 15 different places, there are so few. I mean,
then the problem with that is that there's a waiting list. I mean, I know that when I was looking for places, the waiting list was over 100, and so I mean, it's disheartening, because then you're like, well, what other option do I have? Well, I'm just going to go back to what I know, and that's using. Mm-hmm. And so we really need help. We really need to have the availability for more women to be helped in this, in addiction. Mm-hmm.
And what's another thing that's so important, I've been blessed because of my daughter's addiction and death. She died 2015. And so it's made me really research where these recovery homes are, if they're faith-based. And I've been very blessed to actually visit these homes, and I see them working. I can literally recovery homes in 4 different states. And if they know I'm calling and they know I'm serious about putting a young lady in there, they'll allow me to put her in immediately. And that's just such a blessing to me. And that's, what I'm trying to advocate with this walk, that there are places that you can get them in. And like Margaret, though, said, it's very depressing if you're a parent. But as you know, the addict's got to call first. The parents got to back them, but the addict's got to call first. And, a lot of times when the addict calls, like Margaret says, there's a list 100 to 200. So, again, it's depressing.
Mm. And like you've already mentioned, Carrie's Home has such a heart, the board and everybody that Margaret is the main day-to-day manager there. We have some wonderful women that help out and watch the weekends to give Margaret a break, because she needs a break. And she's newly married, I like to say that, so she likes to spend time with her husband on the weekends. But the main heart is they want to help as many women as they can, and right now they're so limited to be able to only serve as 4 women at a time right now. And when we say transition home, that means they're not actually coming in. They've already been to a place where they've detoxed, gotten some education about their problem, and now they're trying to transition back into regular life by having a safe place to live and have a job, and learn to live this new life out in the real world. But we want to get back at Carrie's Home to getting girls in that need to learn about their problem, learn about the solution to that problem, and spend time in a safe place, because of the physical hooks that it takes some time to just get over in and of themselves. So with the more support coming to Carrie's Home, they're hoping to finish construction on a trailer that's or a building that's being remodeled right now. Are we like 5 or 6 more women, something along there, like 5 or 6?
5 and 6.
5 and 6, both of that. So that we could literally be 9 to 10, so double the capacity at least, if not a little bit more, and be able to start doing more we can. Plus, we got plenty of room over there to expand. So, who knows what might come our way and how much we might be able to expand over there. Anyway, we're coming up on a quick break. That was a little warning, but stay with us, and we'll finish the show out when we come back. That's the guy.
And we're going strong, and that's why I wanted to let you get that fan before it started.
That's Daniel. I gotta go pick him up in Hickory.
Like I said, buddy, thank goodness that you do stuff like that. And Jimmy, I just can't believe the way you were, buddy.
Cox.
He's coming back?
No, I'm sending people down there to get him. He's been on a 3-day bender. He spent $3,500 in 3 days. And
where's his truck?
He's at Fry Hospital. He doesn't even have shoes on. And his truck is some neighborhood. So we're sending 2 people down there to pick him up, give him a change of clothes, bring him up here, get his car, bring him up here. He says it's just on the side of the road and can't start. So I don't know if he ran out of gas. But, the guys have been given very specific instructions. If anything is amiss, to just hand him his keys and say, see you later. But anyway, he's sitting in the parking lot of Fry Hospital. They told him that they no longer detox people off meth, cocaine, or opiates in the state of North Carolina.
So it's only like benzos and alcohol because that's life-threatening?
They said that's all we do now in North Carolina. I've never heard of that, so that'd be new. Or they may be just pushing them out the door. I don't know.
Margaret, you might have to hold that up.
I got a call. What was it last night? You'll laugh at
You
this.
know what?
They can
I
hear
was
you
coming
right
home
now.
from the ball game. I was
On
hungry.
Facebook, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
I stopped at Wendy's and got me something to eat. And you're trying to eat and drive. All of a sudden, man, lights go on behind me, and I'm at a red light, and all of a sudden over that speaker, it goes, pull to the right. So I just pulled over there. And it was so funny because I did what he wanted. I pulled over. I stopped the car. I lowered my window. Stopped the car. And he comes over and he sees me with a half a sandwich in my hand in the bag. He goes, "Oh, that's why you weaved." He goes, "You haven't been driving." I go, "No, I'll take a breathalyzer." I go, "Sorry, man, I haven't eaten since like early this afternoon. It's like 9 at night. I'm starving, dude." He goes, "Well, let me check your info." He did. He let me go. This is cool. Here we go, Jimmy. 10 seconds. Girls, mics are hot. Mics are hot.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk. Every Thursday we're here from 10:30 to 11:30, trying to bring hope and help for hurting people. And this show is made possible by the support of Freedom Auto Tech, who's our sponsor. And Freedom Auto Tech is a local shop here in Boone, and they're ready to give professional service to all your mechanic needs. And you can know as a customer that the profits and proceeds are going to support a good cause, which is Freedom Farm Ministries, a 1-year recovery program here for men. Their number is 828-355-4434, 828-355-4434. Give them a call, get on a schedule. They're running some great specials right now, brake special, oil change special. I don't want to speak too much about specials because I think maybe it discontinued one of them. But anyway, if you or a friend is in need of some car repair, give them a call, 828-355-4434. They even have warranties on their parts. So James Hester, who Margaret knows really well, he asked, who are the girls on the shirt, Addie? It's one girl on the shirt. And if you're on Facebook and you're looking, that's Addie's daughter.
This is Josie. She was my only daughter, only child, and I lost her 2015, heroin addiction. And she, as you can tell, was a gorgeous young lady. She was super sports person, all kind of queens, homecoming queen, Miss DHS, you name it. She got all the awards and accolades. But one choice, one night, she got hooked, and it was all over with. She was in the hospital for 2 weeks. It was the worst 2 weeks of my life, and that is why I'm trying to help as many people as I can on this horrible, horrible addiction and this crisis that we're having in our wonderful country. And two things, this is so funny. I've got to go funny because I'm crying right now. But someone's asked me, this older couple asked me in Mountain City, Tennessee, "Now, Addie, are we going to be able to finish this walk?" I said, "Look, you can walk 1 lap or you can walk 15 laps. We've got a very, very direct schedule. We are registering until 1 o'clock. It might go a little bit over. The speaker's going to speak from about 1:30 to 2, and then at 2 o'clock, the walk actually officially starts. We do need to register, as Jim said, though, at 12:30, and then the walk, everything, and we've got door prizes, we've got a live band, and we've got a resource center that will help, oh my goodness, it will help parents, grandparents, or anyone that's addicted or involved with anyone that is an addict. So thank you, and we hope to see you April 13th at 12:30. And I didn't know where this park was. I always go to not Freedom Farms, the Greenway. But this park is right behind the Greenway. It's right behind the fire station in Boone, right across from the National Guard Armory in Boone. So, Jim, thank you for allowing me to be on this wonderful program. Margaret was interviewed. I'll let her tell you more about the wonderful Watauga Democrat.
Oh.
I was interviewed yesterday, and they're going to run the article on Sunday, and they were just asking about, they interviewed Addie as well and myself, and our experience with addiction and what this walk means. And as Addie said earlier in the show, it's just to, give help to those that have lost a loved one or who is directly or indirectly affected by someone in addiction, and to give them hope and give them some education and to allow them to see that, they don't have to live like that forever. They can change. We can, there's a way to have a happy, productive life.
And if you're listening today and let's say you are a unique person and you haven't been really affected personally by knowing somebody, even knowing somebody that struggled with this. If you want to just support people like us, if you want to just say, hey, you know what, we want you to keep doing what you're doing, show up, because that's all it takes. And all it takes is like-minded people that say, hey, you know what, there's a big problem here, and we need places for people to get help. You know what, it's a, you know, I'm not a martyr or anything like that, but it's a depressing thing to be a part of sometimes, because there's just, not only is there a lot of people that need help, there's not a lot of success when it comes to people finding good help. And there's so many different aspects about addiction. There's not just a cognitive or what I would say a belief system problem, but there's all kinds of chemical problems that are just very, very difficult to fight against, because you're dealing with people that have depleted what you call pleasure receptors. If you know what dopamine is what makes us happy. It's what makes Mike Kelly who Mike Kelly is. It's dopamine, okay?
Never heard that before.
You can't take.
I've heard the dope.
Yeah, can't take credit for it, Mike. Your personality is your dopamine. But anyway, you know, if you've ever felt happy, if you ever felt the feeling of joy, and you know these types of things, you know, those are all great things. But there is a chemical reaction happening in your brain. It's dopamine, and the unfortunate thing is that when you use drugs illicitly, like we do, you screw your brain up really bad. Now, our bodies are made in a wonderful way, which they can heal, but it just takes time, and that's the battle. So when getting people to hold on long enough for them to heal, providing places long enough for them to heal, and it's a very, very difficult struggle. That's where when people talk about the disease portion, the physical portion, you know, there's a big controversial thing, but there is a physical hook when it comes to these substances that makes people act very irrationally, and you look at it and you're like, why are they doing this to themselves? And you don't realize the actual pain and anguish that they're going through in their brains because of what they've done to themselves. You know, that was the other interesting thing. We're getting close to the end here, but you know, your bodies make opiates in a way, pain reliever.
Right.
Okay, naturally. This is the other thing that exists when it comes to being an opiate abuser, is that you screw up your opiate receptors in such a way that when you stop, then your opiate receptors are broken for a time, and you actually feel physical pain because your body's not producing what it needs that you've been injecting or snorting or smoking into your body for so long. I don't know if you've ever heard the theory of people that use steroids and testosterone.
Yep.
They use so much of it that their body stops producing the natural. So when they come off of it, they feel terrible because their body's not producing what it naturally did, because they were putting all this same concepts when it comes to drugs.
Too, Jim, about the brain thing, a lot of people think, and this is a very misconception, that you can go into a recovery house or any type of a lot of people call them, which I hate to hear, halfway houses or flop houses or whatever you want to call them, for 30 days and think your brain's going to be healed. You know, Jim, as you will know, and correct me if I'm wrong, it takes the brain about a year, if not more, to actually re-heal and get to be, quote, quote, normal again. What is your feeling on that?
Yeah, I would say that that's a good rule of thumb. I think there are some factors that kind of start changing it, which is like age and metabolism.
Right.
Could extend that, but that's a good rule of thumb. That's why it's kind of like the idea behind Freedom Farm being a year. We say give us a year commitment, just so we could at least maybe get that much time to let some of this stuff heal in your brain. And
a lot of people think that all these places work. Particularly, I had a friend that went to a place somewhere, I'm not even going to mention where, $70,000 for 1 month. Now, I said to them, $70,000 for 1 month. That is ridiculous. Number one, the money is ridiculous, but number two, we're trying to get places that are affordable, and some of these places that you do pay, but then some are absolutely free. So, as Margaret said, and Jim has said too, we have got to find the right place to send our loved ones.
So look, we're on the last minute of the show. It would mean a lot to us, anybody listening, to just keep passing this. April 13th is right around the corner. Over at the Greenway, that little the little area right across from the Armory. If you live in Boone and you haven't been to the Greenway, shame on you, okay? Because it's a beautiful resource here in this town, and we are going to have this event. Registration is going to open up at 12:30. There's going to be a speaker from 1 to 1:30. The official walk, the official walk is going to be around 2. But come out and show your support. If it's not for someone you know personally, come support us. We need your support. We want this to be the results like in Alabama. We're planning for 150 people show up and 500 people show up. And that can happen by those of you that are listening and watching right now, getting the word out, coming by, showing your support. We hope to see you there. Come next week, and we'll see you next Thursday, all right?
Great show, guys.
Woo-hoo!
Great show, guys. Great